Hey y'all, welcome back to the party. It is me, your girl BrittReacts, and today we're going to react via a kind suggestion to This Mom Debunks Gender Theory in just 3 minutes. Let's see what she has to say.
Our next speaker is Margaret Hamilton, followed by John Amanchukwu.
Hello. Oh, Margaret didn't come to play.
I'm here to speak on behalf of our younger children and their academics.
Okay, Margaret.
This book, It Feels Good to Be Yourself, which has an oxymoronic title based on its content, can be found in 26 elementary schools. It is geared towards K2, and as Macmillan Publisher says, it basically is geared toward ages 4 through 8. It introduces 4 different characters with different gender identities. It makes it seem as if gender is an imaginary concept that can be changed on a whim, when the truth is gender is factual.
Margaret did not come to play. She stepped up, she took her glasses off, her hands hit the podium. Margaret didn't come to play. My baseline with this is if we don't even begin to implement health, meaning like the introduction of body functions, other things that you learn in health until middle school. And when I was in school, it was the 8th grade. I can't speak to when it is now. Then why are we also deciding, or not also, but why do we now feel like we should be introducing such concepts as gender identity to these children who at the age of 4 don't even know what 4 plus 4 is? She said this is in 20 plus classrooms for K through 2. Ages 4 to 8 are being introduced to this book, where it is opening a door, right? We've all, for the most part, heard the phrase like you can't teach, hate is taught, racism is taught, all these things are taught. You're now going to tell me, for the people who believe gender identity is not something you're born with, is something you identify with and choose, then why do they need this book? Because you want to teach them this concept that you say is innately given to. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want with yourself. But let these children grow, evolve, change, and decide for themselves without influence. Back to you, Margaret.
Can be changed on a whim, when the truth is gender is factual. You're either a boy or a girl. And gender identity, what you see yourself as, that's imaginary. Well, let me read you a couple of things. First character is Ruthie. She's a transgender girl. That means when she was born, everyone thought she was a boy until she grew a little older, old enough to tell everyone that she's actually a girl. Then there's her brother, Xavier. Xavier is a cisgender boy. What 4 through 8-year-old knows what cisgender means?
And why? If you're fine with your 4-year-old knowing these terms, so be it. As for you and your house, you do what you want. But I think it's the same to be said for the people who are like, I don't want my child learning about Jesus in the school. Why don't we take all of it out and let people decide what they want to do, and then just teach the children what they need to know. The basics. Because they don't even know how to read and write right now. But we're worried about teaching them gender identity. The priorities seem so mixy and this is where, like I say often, I don't pick sides, but I will tell you what I agree and disagree with as far as certain agendas, certain policies, certain viewpoints. And this one, I'm standing 10 toes down on. Do what you want. Even do what you want with your children. If that is something you want to do with your children, I don't agree with it. But that's your child, even though your child is their own person. And I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to just let these children figure it out. Because if they are, then they will always be, no matter how old they are, right? So why are we like pushing it forward so quickly? If they were born to be something, they will be, no matter who, what, when, where, how, or why comes up against it. Margaret, I'm Team Margaret here.
Cisgender boy. Which 4 through
She
8
said
year old
which?
knows what cisgender means? Can they spell cisgender?
No, they
That
can't
means when
spell it
Xavier
all.
was born, everyone thought he was a boy, and as he grew older, it turned out everyone was right. He was a boy.
Why do we care
Then
what
there's Alex,
everyone
the
thinks?
friend.
It's always
Alex is
the
both a boy
validation of
and a
other
girl.
people.
Then there's JJ. JJ is neither a boy nor a girl. Ever since JJ was very little, they never felt exactly like a boy or girl. They just felt like them.
How do they know what a boy or girl feels like? Ever since they were born.
This is JJ's gender identity. Some kids feel like girls. Some kids feel like boys. Some kids feel like a little bit of both. Part boy, part girl. Reminds me of that old commercial. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Is that okay? Some kids don't feel exactly like a boy or a girl. They feel like neither. Some kids feel that their gender identity isn't always the same. It's often changing. So now are we endorsing schizophrenia? What are we doing? Whether you feel like a boy or a girl or neither, if you describe yourself another way, that is your gender identity. When does this foolishness stop?
If you describe yourself another way, that is your gender identity, a la pineapple, a la giraffe, whatever you want. And again, do whatever you want, but don't expect everybody to fall in line. Because, we got to draw some lines, some boundaries. What? Margaret's funny. She's not trying to be funny, but I think the line where she said, it reminds me of, if you want to be a nut, it's like, no, but it is. It's wildly ridiculous to introduce these very complex emotional ideas to children, because that's what it is. It is an emotional thing. And I'm not negating that some people feel this way, and they have every right to, but to introduce this concept to children who don't know the left from the right, the up from the down, the A from the B to the C, is absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd, friends.
Another way, that is your gender identity. When does this foolishness stop? When you shroud lunacy, insanity, or fallacy in colorful words and pictures to be read to young children, you have created an unsafe environment, since we're talking about safe environment, right? Where does it stop? At this tender age, our children should be learning their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Who authorized this? Who told you that you are God? Who gave you permission to tell our children who they are and who they're supposed to be? This is intentional and evil at its core. Get back to what you were elected to do and formally educate our children, not indoctrinate them with left-wing ideologies under the guise of providing a safe and welcoming space. Hear us clearly. We will not surrender our children. Leave our children alone.
Margaret said, I came to preach. I don't have a long time. Let me say what I have to say. Yeah, I mean, she said it all. Let's just focus on educating our children on the things they actually need, and let's leave the emotional beliefs, ideology, all of that to the household. And you know, if you don't expose children to difference, children are not going to act on that. And again, we've learned that by saying, like, you can't teach hate. You can't be born to hate. You can't be born to be racist. You can't be born to be all these things. Those things are taught. They're learned through watching other people. They're learned from hearing, right? And so these children wouldn't even have that concept of there is a difference, or who does she feel like they are, or who does she like, until we expose them to that. I saw a video on Instagram earlier today where it was an experiment. They had a bunch of toddlers sitting in a room playing with toys, and they put down like a large snake. They just put the snake down, and the question was, is fear taught, or is it an innate thing? None of the kids flinched. Some of them started grabbing at the snake, wanting to play with it, but for the most part, the snake was just minding his business, and so were the kids. And it's like, okay, children learn to fear. Children learn about difference. If we don't introduce these concepts too soon, perhaps we'll have a better outcome of human beings in the next generation. But who am I? I'm just BrittReacts. All right, friends, let me know. Sound off down below in the comments. Thank you to whoever dropped this off in my inbox. I appreciate it, and I hope you have the day you deserve. Bye.